Hello, everyone. Welcome to another division preview. Today, we are tackling the NFC West and previewing the 2024 NFL season. I'm Alex, and I'll guide you through this division and see what will take place and what will happen throughout the course of the 2024 NFL season. This division is going to be pretty competitive this season. I think we have two teams really competing for a division title this year. I think we have three teams competing for a playoff spot. I think that there's going to be something's going to happen in this division. I feel like it's going to be a bit unexpected this year. This division's been pretty competitive the last handful of years, especially with the last three NFC representatives in the Super Bowl, or two of the last three representatives in the Super Bowl being from this division, being the Rams and the 49ers. And three of the last five, you include 2019 and the Niners appearance there. Four of the last six, if you include the Rams the year before. I'm just going off the cuff here. But this division's been pretty good for the last half decade plus. So we'll see if things carry over this season and what happens. We'll begin our journey in San Francisco with the reigning NFC champion San Francisco 49ers, who performed as they were expected to last year. Of course, falling just short in the title game. I think that they're going to be an interesting squad this year. Of course, I don't have Brandon Ayuk listed because of all those trade rumors going on still. Still haven't re-signed him. You know that he's going to be a part of the team and he's going to be receiver too if he makes the team and they re-sign him. But outside of Ayuk, I still think this team is very good. Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the league, I'd say, just from the fact that he's got a great rushing ability and he's dynamic in the receiving game as well. And that's what you're kind of looking for from a running back into the modern NFL. And, well, even though Brock Purdy is young and kind of came out of nowhere, I think he'll just continue to get a little bit better. He's kind of at that point in his career where he's still got a lot of room to grow. And I think if the Niners don't re-sign Ayuk, it'll be a great test to see if he is ready to help out the receiving core with Deebo Samuel and Juwan Jennings now being the receiver two, the all-likely receiver two. George Kittle, of course, being a great tight end, one of the best in the league. But they have a good defense and a good front seven to help them out with Nick Bosa, Leonard Floyd, Fred Warner. I mean, this is a great defensive unit, a great front seven unit. Of course, Drake Greenlaw, of course, will come in later in the season, but of course, he's still recovering from the ACL tear he suffered and that non-contact injury in the Super Bowl. Which, I mean, that's just brutal. You work all this, you put in all this work, and you get to the Super Bowl, and just on a routine play, jogging out onto the field, you tear your ACL. It's just brutal. So we'll see when he returns to the lineup. But because that injury was in the Super Bowl, he's not going to be ready for the start of the year. But I like this roster, and it translates in their schedule. I think that this team has the highest ceiling or it is going to be the number one seed in the NFC this year. They start off with a win against New York. I think that there's a lot riding on that first Monday night game against the Jets with Aaron Rodgers and everything. But I think that they play very well this year. I think the Rams get them this year. I think they're able to get them one of these two times. And yeah, as you can see, I have them winning the rematch of the Super Bowl. I have them beating the other team in the NFC Championship in that rematch against Detroit. So I have them winning both revenge games, both rematch games of the championships. I like what this team has. There is nothing about this team that I can see before the season starts that tells me that they're going to win less than 10 games. I think that there's a lot to look forward to. And, of course, everyone in San Francisco is thinking Super Bowl or bust this year. And, of course, they're going to really want Brandon Ayuk if they want to get back to that point. So we'll see what happens with those trade rumors over the next week and a half before the season starts. And, of course, go from there. 13-4 for the San Francisco 49ers. I really like this team this year. Now let's head down south to the City of Angels, to the Los Angeles Rams, entering their 5th season in SoFi Stadium. Still with Matthew Stafford under center, a couple years now removed from the Super Bowl. This is an interesting season for the Rams. Of course, you think about the way this franchise has been run, and it has ran since the Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl, have the worst title defense season of all time in the NFL. They get back to the postseason last year after Stafford comes back after getting hurt and everything. And next thing you know, now I think this is the year they return to form. You could say, and losing Aaron Donald to retirement is going to be brutal. That is going to stink. But I don't think that that's going to be a huge... It's going to be a huge hit on the defensive line. But I don't know if it'll be as big of a loss as some people say it will be. I think that Kobe Turner should have a good season. He played pretty well in his rookie year. I like Jared Verse to see what he can do as a rookie linebacker. He's coming into a good situation. The defense is the part that I worry about just a little bit. I like Tre'Davious White. Hopefully he doesn't have a season-ending injury early in the season this year. But I really like this offense, man. I really do. I like Stafford. I like Cooper Kupp, being healthy. Puka Nacua being a second receiver is ridiculous. I like Kyron Williams. And Blake Corum, even as a rookie running back, did great things at Michigan. I really like him. I think he'll be great for LA in that system. And Tyler Higbee is also out to start the year. So Colby Parkinson will take a spot, but I'd still like this Rams offense a lot. So, unsurprisingly, I have this team doing very, very well this season. I like them to win 6 straight after losing that first game to Detroit on opening night in Detroit on Sunday Night Football. I have them, which includes a win against San Francisco. But I think they come to play against teams like Buffalo and Green Bay and Chicago and Miami. I think if they play well against those teams and keep their losses to a minimum in those types of games, they're going to be very good. With that being said, I think this is their ceiling. I'm on the high end of this Rams team. I could very well see them having a losing record. If things don't go their way, they lose that game to Green Bay, they lose to Chicago, they lose to Buffalo, they lose to Miami, they lose to New York. It all depends on how they play in those types of games because they're favored and they are expected to beat Arizona twice. They're expected to beat New England, Las Vegas, Minnesota. They really should win those games. If they slip up a couple times and they're able to win some of these tougher games, it's going to hurt less. But yeah, I think that they hit their ceiling this year. I think they can win 12 games. I don't think there's anything more that we can ask of this team. I think 12 wins is the max that the Rams can win this season, and that's exactly where I have them. Next up, we're going to head east into the desert and take a visit with the Arizona Cardinals, a team that did not have a good season last year. They were the team I predicted to win the least amount of games. I predicted this team to be the worst team in the league last year. That didn't happen. That was partially due to the fact that Kyler Murray was injured to start the year. Hopefully the Cardinals will get a full year of Kyler Murray this year, but with the poor season, they were able to pick Marvin Harrison Jr. with the 4th overall pick, which is a great selection. They weren't a QB-hungry team. Kyler Murray is still a good quarterback, and I think having Marvin Harrison as a weapon is going to help. James Conner he's been really quiet. He's a really underrated running back playing for Arizona. He's been very quiet since leaving Pittsburgh, but really he shouldn't be. He's been playing very well for the Cardinals, and I expect him to play well again. I do like a couple pieces on this offense. I really don't like this defense. This defense, to me, is a bit weak. I think the pickup of Sean Murphy Bunting will help, but I'm not a massive fan of that front seven. And, Sean Murphy Bunting and Budda Baker are the really two skill players that you can count on this Arizona defense. And that's kind of the vibe I get from this Arizona team. They have a couple of guys, Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., Budda Baker. They have a couple guys, but overall it's not a great team. And that reflects what I have as their prediction. I don't think this is going to be a very good team this year. I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is still going to have a good season. Just because the team doesn't play well doesn't mean that Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't going to have a good season. But then again, he is one player on a team of 53, and 22 of them are starters. He's only one guy. He can only do so much. He might bring him a win or two, but I don't really like this team that much this year. I think they have a brutal schedule to start the year. Those first 3 games are tough. I do think they get that win against Washington, probably more to the fact that they played those tough teams, and they're going to have to play more after that. Those first 6 games are brutal. If they finish anything better than 1-5, I will be impressed, because it's going to take a lot to get one of those wins, especially with half of those games being on the road. But I with the way that their schedule looks, and with the teams that they're playing, they play a tough NFC North, they play a tough AFC East, and they play their own division, which is tough. I think the majority of this schedule is just really hard for this Cardinals team, and that's a big reason why I don't think that they're going to win more than 6 games this year. I think it's more of their schedule is pretty tough, and they've got a lot of tough games on the schedule, as opposed to I think the team is just that bad. If they were playing in the NFC South, I think their ceiling might be 8 and 9. But it'll give them another good draft pick, and it's a real assessment year for Kyler Murray and the rest of that team. We'll see if there's a major turnaround coming up at the end of the season, but I don't think the Cardinals are going to do very much this upcoming season. Finally, we'll travel up to the Pacific Northwest, where we take a look at the Seattle Seahawks. Very interesting team. They're a bit of a team in flux. They're a team that kind of reminds me of New Orleans. Really hard to predict this year. Really hard. They have Geno Smith still in behind center, which is hard to say after he's going into his 3rd year as a starter in Seattle. And he's played pretty well. I really like how he's been able to revitalize his career. I like Kenneth Walker. That wide receiver trio is great. And I think, I think that this offense, oh my God. And lastly, let's take a trip up to the Pacific Northwest to look at the Seattle Seahawks. A team that's very interesting, and I would compare to New Orleans a little bit. That's really hard to predict. Geno Smith's still behind center, and I think he's the biggest question mark on this offense, because I love the skill positions. Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Those are phenomenal skill position players and a great offense. But can Geno Smith elevate his own performance and help this offense look deadly? And that's huge. That'll be huge going into the season. I like their secondary. I think that there is a lot here that you can take and take some positive notes. Reek Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, Julian Love, Rayshon Jenkins they picked up. I like this secondary. I have some questions with the front 7. See what that defensive line and linebacking core can do. But I think that is going to be the biggest question mark. If they can't get off the field, they're just going to get tired, and can their offense keep up? So I think there's a couple question marks here, but there is some serious upside for the Seahawks team. That being said, I don't see the upside this season. I don't think they can go much lower than this, but again, like I said, with Arizona, they suffer from the fact they have to play an entire tough NFC North, a tough AFC East, and the rest of their division, which is tough. I think they lose a couple games that they really shouldn't. I think they lose that game in New York and to Arizona. I think those two games in particular will kill this team. This is on the low side of things. As you can see, their floor is only 1 win less than what I have them at. But I don't really think that there's a ton here that will translate to big wins. I think that this is a team that will find themselves on the losing end of close games against tougher opponents than a team like the Rams, who I have winning more of those games than losing. But just with how things go and with their schedule, how it turns out, I don't love the Seahawks' chances this year. But of course, if there's one team that I'd pick to just completely surprise me and completely make me look like a fool, it'd be Seattle. I think that there's a very good chance that they could pull out a winning record this season. I just don't see it happening this year. Okay, let's look at the final division standings. Right here, I have the 49ers winning the division once again, and I have them being the number 1 seed in the NFC, large in part due to that victory that they have in Week 17 against the Detroit Lions. I think that game will be for the number 1 seed in the NFC, which is going to be much-watched television on Monday night. Second place, I have the LA Rams. I really like this team this year. I think that they're a team that I think that will be sneakily good. I think they get the first wild card and go on the road to face the NFC South Division winner. I think they win that game. So I think that the Rams are going to be able to pick up a playoff win this year. As for a team that I think is going to really underachieve, it's Seattle. I think that those two teams, it looks like a massive gap. That gap could close very quickly. That LA and Seattle could be much closer as the year ends than you think. I just have it not going such a way. And then the Cardinals, I think, are going to be at the bottom of the division. I think that they just kind of they got a tough schedule this season. And I don't think it's going to pan out for the Cardinals this year. So, who wins the NFC West this season? Do the Niners win it again? Or do the Rams, or maybe even the Seahawks, come up and steal division supremacy? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please give this video a like if you like my predictions, or don't, or didn't. I don't really care. Just hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button if you want to see more general NFL content from me. And without further ado, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.